maybe about half a cup of the grout. Oh, and actually, Mom, can you get a close-up video too? Sorry, I'm getting a video too so everybody else can see it. So I poured in about half a cup of my grout. And with the water, you really only need a tiny bit. A little bit of water goes a long way. So if I were to pour in my whole bag, then I might make grout that's way too watery. So just do a little bit first and test it out. I'm pouring in maybe a tablespoon amount for all that, mixing it up. And a tablespoon amount was way too much water. So, so this is why I say don't pour it all in at once, because you're gonna have to experiment. So you want the consistency of it to be almost like frosting or maybe a thick cake batter. So right now it's very soupy. So I'm adding a little bit more grout. Stirring it up. It's perfect. This looks just like batter or frosting. It's kind of chunky, okay? Once you have that mixed up, then you just pour it over your whole mosaic. So I'm going to dump it right over top. I have lots of little beads and things in there. That's okay, just dump it right on top. And then with your popsicle stick, you're going to spread it around. So you want to make sure it gets over the whole design. Push it around to the edges. Okay, just making sure it pushes in all those little spots. This will just take a minute here. Around the edges too, make sure you push it in along the whole side so there's no sharp edges sticking out. Need a little more. Okay. All right. I try to push off any excess of it with your popsicle stick. Just push it off as best you can. And then the next part is just wiping it off as best you can. So some people use sponges when they do this, but for me it's much easier just to use paper towel because I throw it all away. I don't have to sit and wash it. If you're washing cement, you don't want to let it go down your sink, really. You want to try and keep it out of the sink. Yeah, so that's why paper towel is just way easier. So I'm just wiping off as much as I can. Getting it around the sides, wiping that off. Now if you wipe off some and you can always go back and add more if you take off too much around the edges. I think that's good. This often takes a couple times of wiping. Now, if you have pieces of glass too that are really bubbly or like little bitty beads, sometimes if you want to get more of the cement off, you can use like a toothbrush or something to kind of scrub out the grout, but the grout is going to want to go into every little groove. Now I wiped the edges. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a wet wipe and just clean each little piece of glass with my finger. Now, if I don't do this step, if I leave any of the grout, it will come off the glass, but you're gonna have to sit and pick it off, and it's way easier just to do this the first time. Is just clean off all those pieces nice, so you don't have to pick off hard pieces of grout. So I'm gonna go through and clean all these pieces, and then I just move my finger around and get another clean spot on the wet wipe. Wiping this all around. And that's basically all you do. You're gonna let this dry then for a couple hours. And once it's dry, then you can go over it with paint. Paint is just kind of a fun thing I like to do. Sometimes you can buy grout that's already colored. So they sell like white grout and grays and different colors. Or you can buy dyes. So you can actually dye your grout. But I love to paint it because that way I can add gradients and different colors, and I can put color where I want it to be. If you're going to be putting your mosaics outside, the paint, depending on what paint you use, sometimes paint will come off. So you'll want to use an exterior paint. I've been experimenting too with putting different glazes on top of it to try and hold the paint on longer. And glazes, if it's gonna be in the sun will bubble the glaze right off the glass. So then you have to pick glaze off the glass. So if you're gonna put a glaze on your paint, just use a paintbrush and paint it right on the grout. It's kind of tedious, but that'll make it last a really long time. I've learned this the hard way. I did a whole table and then I put glaze over the whole table. And then that summer it just bubbled. And I mean, it comes off. You have to just pick it off the glass, but definitely don't want to spend hours and hours doing that. So